Van Diesel. Oh, please intro me as Van Diesel.
I was that one pointless this week because I want to know when that aired because that was something.
Oh, oh.
Um,
We only know two of them, so we're gonna have to go with. So we're gonna have to guess. So we're gonna go with E. Van Diesel, Jean-Claude Van Diesel.
oh dear, right. Hello and welcome to 35 Vinute Movies today for some reason. Welcome to 35 Vinute Movies. This is a Vin Diesel podcast where we talk about all things Vin Diesel. We're going through all his films in chronological order. We're ranking them, we're reviewing them, we're just going to chat all things Vin Diesel. We were just joking there because a woman on Pointless, we think this week, we don't know when, but we saw a video online, decided to answer a question with Van Diesel instead of Jean-Claude Van Damme. If I find the video again, I might put it in, just in the edit, because it is very amusing to me.
I'll send it to you. It's a TikTok, and basically she's.
I think I sent you the TikTok, so it might still be in the thing.
Yeah, so it's like famous vans, and it's like a bunch of different vans, and E is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and she goes, oh, well, we only know two of them, so we're going to have to guess. And she goes, so we're going to go for E, Van Diesel, and it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's not even the right name.
It's nowhere near the right name.
It's so funny.
We only know two, so we'll have to guess which is the lowest point. So we're going to go for E, and it's Van Diesel.
Okay, Van Diesel. Say Christina and Janie. Van Diesel. Now, Kat and Kevin, it's over to you. Do you want to talk us through the rest of those vans?
I thought the bottom one was Jean-Claude Van Damme. I could be wrong.
How are you doing? We've been away for a while. How are you doing?
We have, yeah. We've been pretty busy the past few weeks, but I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm back in my old usual room, which is nice. How are you?
Smart.
How have you
looking
been?
Very smart.
Thank you very much.
I'm okay. I'm doing better. I wasn't very well last week, but I'm doing all right. And I just in desperate need a haircut now. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just April 5th, barbers reopen. Getting excited here. I'm
that bald cut.
I think I might just get it all off. Just on Monday,
Vin Diesel
I'm just gonna just completely Vin Diesel it. Two movies this week, as always. From still in the early kind of part of his career, but there's a turning point this week that I want to kind of talk about because it does get a bit crazy. So shall we just jump right in? I don't think there's anything else really to discuss this week on Vin Diesel news. So let's kick it off with the Knockaround Guys. That's directed by Brian Koppelman and David Levien. I think we're going to go with Levien. And it's a Mafia movie. Could you tell me what happens in this film? Because
basically, we're following a character called Matty DeMar, who's played by Barry Pepper, and he's the son of a mobster. He's always been a bit of a disappointment to his family. He sort of wants to turn things around, so him and his friends, you've got Seth Green, Andy Davoli, and Vin Diesel. Basically, they go on this sort of mission to retrieve some money. It goes a bit askew, and it's them sort of spending the movie trying to get this money back or face the consequences of the mobster that they're going to be disappointing. And it's an interesting one. It's not Vin's biggest role, which we were sort of surprised by. Because
it does make sense why he's not got a massive role in it though, because it was shot in 1999, so it's still very early on in his career, and then they held on to it to release it eventually in 2002, but it's listed as a 2001 film everywhere else because it did get a couple early releases in Europe, but so not a very big Vin role this time around. They held it for XXx, which we'll talk about later on in the podcast. I wasn't a massive fan of this film. It was really dull, and I saw people make comparisons to bad Tarantino films, and I was like, that makes a bit of sense actually. Give me your expert opinion, Mr. Film Reviewer.
I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It is just very generic Mafia movie. In that it hits all of those sort of beats that you'd expect, but it doesn't do it in a sort of way that's new or fun. And it was funny because we were looking at the sort of trivia for this, and so much of this seems to be inspired by Casino. And so I think that's a sort of good sort of representation of what the film is trying to be. It's trying to be those sort of Scorsese gangster flicks, but it's just a little bit sort of, below it in terms of quality, I think.
It's not even a little bit below it. I thought it was.
It's quite
dull.
A bit below it. Yeah.
It just didn't. I don't know, and the lack of. I don't know. It just didn't even grasp my attention. I was checking my phone. You know what I mean? And I try not to check my phone during films, but I was actively just had it on, and that was it, because it was just. The first half an hour, it's only 90 minutes long, and it feels like it was like 2 hours and a half, like 2 hours, 30. It was just so fucking long,
I know. I set time aside to see it this morning, and it is only like 92 minutes, and it's like 85 with without credits, but it just went on and on and on. It's really boring, surprisingly. Like there's a plot, but it takes so long to sort of get into motion. And even then, it doesn't really go anywhere. It sort of stretches its plot so thin, and it's just so dull.
It's such a basic plot, with nothing really else going on. There's not a lot of character development. No one really goes anywhere. Vin's underused, and we can't have that for my boy, because come on, let's just be honest here. We can't underuse Vin Diesel in these films.
So what did you think of his character in this?
He was like the hard guy when he was just muscle. They were using him for his sick goatee and a little bit of hair. He just even then he didn't have a lot to do. He didn't really get enough to kind of flex him out, I guess. There was one scene that sort of stood out. It was in a bar, wasn't it? And they had a bar fight, and that was the one kind of thing that stood out to me. But that was about it. I mean, what else does he do? What were your opinions on him? Because
he's the best part of the movie, and I'm not just saying this as like a Vin Diesel fan. He is genuinely the best part of the movie. He has the most entertaining scenes, but it's literally like 2-3 scenes. The bar scene's great, and it's just basically Vin Diesel just absolutely brawling on some dude, and then you sort of get the hint that he's had this very sort of damaged past. I think he teases that he's been in over 500 street fights, but they never do anything with him apart from that one scene, because he's just too powerful. He's like, this is supposed to be a group of like amateur mobsters, and that's the whole point. They get into these messy situations, and so you can't really use a character like that who's clearly experienced. And there's a scene where really the film should have been over an hour in, because Vin Diesel's character should have done something with some other characters in this sort of confrontation scene, but they find a way to sort of restrain him and drag the plot out by like another half an hour. But really, if you sort of used that character's traits in that scene, it would have been over. Do you know this in the sort of sheriff scene?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because it did seem like the person who had the initial idea just decided, oh god, this isn't enough to make a feature film. We've got to find some random reason just to sort of kind of incapacitate him for a second or restrain him, just keep him away from actually doing anything to end the film. We have to just get to the 90-minute mark, and then that's a film, I guess. You know what I mean? That's the mark we need to. It does, because it's almost like 90 minutes on the dot. Like it's like just from a bare. Like it's almost like they've made the credits longer just so they can get to 90 minutes and call themselves a feature film. Like that is. I don't know.
Yeah,
it does seem a bit like that.
For sure, 100%. And he is definitely that film-ending character. If you sort of if it was a real-life situation and he did what he's capable of doing, there would be no situation, there would be no movie. So like, but in that point, then why write a character like that into the movie? It's just it was bizarre.
It doesn't make that, but this entire film, I have to say, doesn't make an entire bunch of sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it has a reason to exist, and you can tell New Line knew that, because, like I said in the beginning, the only kind of bit of trivia we found out was the release dates issues, was because we were very confused, because some people had said it came out around the same time as xXx, but IMDb had it listed for 2001, so we're like, oh god, what's going on? But they held it because they didn't know how to market the movie with just a bunch of unknown actors, so if you look at all the posters and stuff on like digital marketplaces everywhere, Vin Diesel's front and center, like as if he's the main character. And I went in expected Vin to be in it much more than he was. You know what I mean? But he is just like, he's at the front of all the like the group shots and stuff. But he's not supposed to be the main character at all. He was. So they held it once. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say he's not even introduced until 20 minutes in.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And this is again a very short film.
And he turns up in like a big van or something, doesn't he? And then goes in.
Van Diesel.
Robs a shop. Van Diesel, and he robs a shop, and it's. Let's jump into the scores.
The scoring.
Yeah, what are you giving this overall as a film?
It's not very good. As I say, it's probably only watchable because of the cast. They sort of just. It's strange. There's not a lot going on, and the sort of ideas they do have, they don't really do much with. And it feels like it's about 5 hours long. I'm not even kidding. I would probably go 2 out of 5 for Knockaround Guys. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm there to agree with you. 2 out of 5. It just really didn't do anything with the cast, do anything with the script. It just sort of existed to almost, I don't know, just it tried its best to it wanted to be a Scorsese movie, but also be like a Tarantino movie, and also be loads of different things. And trying to wear lots of hats, and it just couldn't wear them. It was just all the hats were falling off. It's a bad time. So yeah, 2 out of 5 for me as well.
But as a Vin role, the elements are there. I'll give him that. But I almost don't want to give it too high a score, so it stays quite far down the list. So I would also maybe give that a 2 because he is underutilized quite significantly, and he doesn't appear till like 20 minutes in, so he's only got like a 50 minutes of screen time if you're lucky. So it's that's for me. What about you? I mean, it's the sort of the well-worn phrase of tough guy with heart, but there's not even much heart to him, which I kind of like.
Really isn't.
If he had more to do, it would be great, because the little he does is the best parts of the movie. But yeah, I'm probably sitting on a 2 out of 5 just because the film wastes him, and I really don't want to see this high up on our list.
So we've only given that an 8, I think. Yeah, an 8. So
yeah,
that's on the list. Now we're not even have to look at the list. That is a rank that is at the bottom, thankfully. So I don't know. It's I don't want to talk about it. Let's just forget we ever spoke about it. Let's just move on. Vin has better roles to come, and the next one is it's something special. It might not be a great film, but it's something special. So moving on to Rob Cohen's XXX, XXX.
Don't Google that.
Not to be confused with porn. It's the most action-packed film and the most early 2000s movie. Probably I've said that a lot, but this is pushing it. This is heavy metal snowboarding. This is like a PS2 game come to life. What? Tell me the plot, because it's all over the place. It's a magical plot.
Yeah. So Vin Diesel plays Xander Cage, and he's like this sort of extreme sports athlete. He has I don't want to say a YouTube channel, because was YouTube really a big thing in the early 2000s?
It seems to be more of like a
VHS sort of thing.
Yeah, his tapes are passed around all throughout the land. Everyone seems to know who he is.
He's very famous. Yeah, he's very famous as this sort of stuntman. And as a result, the sort of government, and Samuel L. Jackson, by the way, see him as quite disposable. With the relevant skills they need to sort of get a mission done, so they recruit him to infiltrate this sort of terrorist organization, and that's basically the plot of the movie. And then obviously Vin Diesel gets in a little bit too deep, forms a relationship with one of the girls, Yelena, and has to find a way to sort of, it's your sort of Point Break kind of thing. He gets in a bit too deep, and still has to sort of do his job and save the world.
It seems to be a recurring theme with Rob Cohen to just sort of riff off Point Break until like to the max, because that's what we're talking about with the Fast and the Furious. It was just point and break with cars.
Yeah.
This one's more extreme sports, so this one is closer almost to Point Break. In fact, it is extreme sports. Like the remake, I think the original Point Break's surfboarding, isn't it, or something like that? And then,
yeah.
And then the remake of Point Break's a bit more generic stunts or something, isn't it? Something
yeah,
like that. Yeah. What are you? I don't even know what to say, because I don't even know where to begin, because it is just crazy in terms of the action sequences. What? There's so many of them, all of varying degrees. What one stood out to you as the best action scene in this film? Because they're all crazy.
The first introduction to Xander Cage. He steals a car, and then sort of like has this police chase, and then rides it off a bridge and sort of like parachutes off of the car, and that's just I don't know why.
Well, let the bodies hit the floor, please. Like
welcome to the Xander zone. Welcome to the Xander zone. That scene encapsulated the whole movie, because I'd never seen XXX, and I knew this. It was a sort of extreme sports movie, but I wasn't sure what to expect. And then I saw that scene, and I was like, yeah, I know what I'm in for now. I know what I'm in for, and I'm ready. And I feel like that scene it sort of encapsulates the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I think for me, the last one, or near the last one, with the snowboarding, with all the avalanches, and then he sort of like hits off a building that explodes, or am I just getting them all? I think they're all muddling together now, because there's one where he escapes in Mexico, where I think he's driving a motorcycle, and is it Mexico or Colombia? And then I watched this movie an hour ago, and it's just a muddled mess in my brain. And I think that goes to show, just in terms of editing and camera work, where I just could not keep track of anything. You might as well have played it in reverse. I just completely lost. But there's one scene, there's one shot that speaks out to me. It's like, this is just the most outrageous thing on the planet, where an avalanche is kind of falling in on him, and he's snowboarding down the middle of it, and he's just like, I'm stuntman extreme. As a story, where like, though it's not exactly well written, but you wouldn't expect it to be. It's not that kind of film.
It's completely incoherent. It's like a mess narratively.
There's a couple. The way they introduce them to the squad, almost where they drug him and put him in a diner, and are like just sort of like trying to get him to see what's wrong. It's almost like he catches out what's wrong with the entire setup. Because a waitress wears high heels or something, and that's not the thing that stands out to him as being wrong. And he stops like a robbery or something like that, or he doesn't stop a robbery. I can't remember anymore.
It's like a fake robbery. So basically, Samuel Jackson, as a way of sort of testing his skills, creates this sort of scenario, puts him in a diner. There's some people who pretending to rob it, and they want to see how he responds, and obviously he kicks their ass. But then he like calls them out, and he was like, "Oh no, I knew this. It wasn't real for A, B, and C reasons."
Yeah.
They're stupid. And then so I don't understand. So they do that, and then they put them on a plane and send them into Colombia.
Yeah.
For if they do something else with them,
making cocaine, that's what's going on. It's for
but
some
then
reason,
they think it's another
Danny
simulation.
Trejo turns up, and it's just like, they all think it's another simulation. But would you not think it's all a simulation at that point, though? Because it is just sort of like, you wouldn't be able to know what's real and what's not at that point.
and then part of it's set up because the government were always going to come in. It's like it's such a mess.
I think that's the one. Is that not the one with the motorcycle though? And he blows up the entire building.
Yeah.
And then And you were saying that's just Vin Diesel did a lot of his own stunts, but that is just man in a Vin Diesel mask. And I was upset to hear that.
So basically he performed all of his own stunts, but apparently according to the DVD commentary, he was sick for the Corvette bass drum. So I'm not actually sure. I'm not sure which one that is. The Corvette bass drum.
The Corvette bass drum will be the supercar one, and the supercar one. That's what it was. Yeah.
And basically, Vin was sick that day, so Tim Rigby, a professional stuntman, came in and did the stunt wearing a Vin mask. which is great.
Where can we find a Vin Diesel mask? Like a very real one. I want a real Vin Diesel mask. Just you know the ones like in Atlanta where it's like upsettingly realistic, or the ones in Good Time where they rob the bank with the old man masks. And
Yeah.
like, I want one of them that's just upsettingly detailed Vin Diesel mask so I can wear it on this podcast. Because I feel like that would be excellent for the final episode.
Genuinely.
So he rode the motorcycle. No way he rode the motorcycle like in the explosion. That can't be. Although I suppose he is.
Well, so
it wasn't
he
as
learned
expensive back then.
He learned motocross. He learned how to ride a motocross bike. Literally, I think, a couple months before the film started shooting, which is crazy to me.
He seems like a madman. This is Tom Cruise level of stuntage at this point.
It actually is, by the way.
Tom Cruise would have been doing it. Tom Cruise would have he would have done the Corvette stunt even though he was sick. He would have just done it. You know, he'd have had a flu. He'd had the flu, the coronavirus. He would have jumped out of that plane.
We're talking about stunts. So just sort of here, I didn't actually realize, but there was a stuntman, Harry O'Connor, that was actually killed during the filming of this movie. So apparently he hit a pillar on the Palacky Bridge in Prague when they were sort of parasailing during one of the action sequences, which is just. So the I can't remember again which stunt it is because there's so many, but the one we see in the film is apparently the first take, and he died on the second.
Jesus Christ, that is.
Which is mad.
You never. That's what. Just going aside tangent there. You never. I feel like. And people talk about it all the time, but I feel like the actual industry doesn't really give stuntmen the respect they deserve. Like that is
100%.
Those people put their life on the line, as shown there, for us to watch cool action movies, and then there's nothing for them at the Oscars, nothing for them anywhere but their own union doing their own guild doing the stunt awards. I think there's like maybe one or two starting now, but I've always felt the Oscars need a stunts performance, and maybe even like a
100%.
Yeah, just something like even an ensemble stunt crew, not even just a individual stuntman Oscar, just a ensemble stunt, just something basic like that.
The insane amount of work that goes into pulling off these stunts, and like say what you want about XXX, like as a film, but the stunt work in this film is actually crazy, and it must be so technically insane to sort of pull off, and these people they risk their lives for that, more so than, any other department on a film. And the fact that they don't get the respect that they deserve is just it's kind of heartbreaking. We have awards for sound and editing, but we don't have awards for stunts. Like, that's mad to me.
It's crazy. And this had a $70 million budget for the time, which is pretty expensive for the time. And you can see the money on the screen. It's one of those ones where you can see the money on the screen with the stunts, and it's a spectacle to watch. The camera work is a bit iffy when they're talking. For some reason, they just sort of like, he's always moving about like stunt. I don't know. He's just always Rob Cohen never stops. That man never sleeps. But the stunt work, the camera work for the stunts is actually it's cool to watch. I don't know what the sequel's going to be like because I know there is a sequel to this.
There's two, isn't there? There's a third one that came out in 2017.
So we'll only watch the third one because Ice Cube's in the second one. So we won't be covering it here. I don't understand why he never came back. I think it must have been Fast and Furious to start to take off or something. I don't know when the second one came out.
But sorry, curiously, actually, the one thing we haven't talked about in this movie is XXX himself.
Yes.
Xander Cage as a character. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I think this is where Vin Diesel is born. So the Vin Diesel we know, this is where he's born. Because if you look at the trajectory of movies after this, okay, so you've got he doesn't come back to Fast and Furious until it goes like this. It all becomes an XXX ripoff. Like not even XXX ripoff, but just in terms of stunt work, in terms of just off like balls to the wall action, just sort of explosions everywhere. This is the trajectory. It's starting to go up now. This is him at his most Vin Diesel. He's got a foreign supermodel on his arm. He's driving a car into a burning building, coming out the other side, parachuting away. This is Vin Diesel, and as a character, XXX is probably not the best person on the entire planet, but he's super cool spy, definitely like. But heart of gold, he loves his girl. He loves the girl. He loves the girl who's close to him. You know, that's sort of it's Vin Diesel. He's a he's a bald, tough guy with a heart of gold. That's again, you know. And I thought the most Vin Diesel scene is at the very end where he's on the beach and he has to like he's kissing the girl and he has to like jet away to go and take on the next mission. That's Vin Diesel like wrapped up. What about you? How do you feel about Xander Cage?
I like him. I should probably say I didn't love the film in general. Like it's got some great stunts. It's got some good action, but the film in general is just a bit of a mess. But the saving grace of it is Xander Cage because he's so interesting, and Vin is so terrific in this role. And it is that sort of tough guy with the heart of gold. I hate to say it again, but and this is the sort of, but I feel like this is the sort of tough guy with the heart of gold that we really know Vin for, sort of more so than more so than like Boiler Room, or even sort of like Saving Private Ryan. This is like
even Strays. This is
even
more
Strays.
Vin than Strays. And I gave you gave Vin 5 for Strays. I don't know how you're gonna get a 6 on there, but.
That was just because he directed that film, that was like the birth of Vin Diesel. But it's a really interesting character, and I am curious to know why he didn't come back for the second, and then where we see him in the third, because there's gonna have been such a big sort of period of time in between this and the third. I think 16 years, something like that, 16 years.
Stupid amount of time.
And I think there's a lot of potential for this character, because they do so much with him, and I really like the extreme sports aspect of it. I think Vin is sort of perfect for that. He's the kind of guy you can see as this sort of decadent, sports athlete, an extreme sports athlete who sort of lives this lavish life. He throws this massive party early on. After pulling off this crazy stunt, he wears a fur coat in this movie as well, which is just terrific.
Fur coat. I forgot to mention the fur coat because that is one of the most Vin Diesel things on the planet. But that is also like just crazy levels of just what was he thinking? Does he think he looks like super cool in that? Like what is
he does.
No, he does. To be fair,
excuse me.
I'll let you know.
I was gonna say
fair enough. Fair enough. He does look very cool in that. Yes, that's true.
But as an overall film, what would you rate this then?
Do you know what? Just because it was an entertaining watch, and I didn't feel like it was. I did check my phone a couple of times. It was quite boring, but like when it stopped, but when it got going, it was quite fun. You know what I mean? It was like a great time. So I'd have to say, as an overall film, probably about a 3. I think I did enjoy it enough to give it midway, sort of averagey, sort of enjoyed it but didn't hate it. I feel like if we go down to 2, it would make it feel like Knockaround Guys. But yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I'm not gonna go that high. I am probably sitting on a 2, which I know is probably the same as it is, sort of on par with Knockaround Guys, but I didn't really love it. I think there are certainly strong aspects in the film, like the stunt work, and some of the action is a bit like shaky cam and horrific to watch. But the character of sort of Xander Cage is really intriguing, but I feel like it's all sort of set up for what might come later. I hope, but yeah, I don't know. It's also really long. It's like 2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours 4.
And I think it's also one of those films that sort of stretches its plot quite thin. But yeah, so I would probably go for a 2 out of 5. But I did like it more as an actual Vin Diesel role.
So what are you going for the Vin Diesel role then? Just hit me with what you're thinking for the. Because I feel like it's going to end up high on the list. You're going to go 4 on this, 4 out of 5.
4. Yeah, I feel like I feel like I can't go full, just because we're gonna see that more sort of polished Vin later on. And again, I only gave Strays 5 just because he wrote that, he directed it. That was like full Vin for another reason.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And I feel like we've got just like we sort of said with Fast and Furious, we've got the foundations of a good, strong Vin character.
Yeah.
Like the makings are all there, and so I'm gonna go for a 5 in terms of Van Diesel-ness.
Yeah, no, I think on the Van Diesel scale it's probably a 4 out of 5. I was just thinking, you've managed to convince me of why to stick away from the 5, because I know
Were you going 5?
I was thinking 5 just because of the fur coat. You know, I was
do
thinking
it, man.
5
Just do it.
Nah, I can't.
You know what? Just stick to your guns.
Do you think stick to my? I think we'll go 5 then. Yeah, screw it. We're gonna go 5 out of 5.
Guns.
We'll stick to the guns. So yeah, that is that's a big score. It's a 14 out of 20 for XXX, which is also coincidentally what the Fast and the Furious got in terms of out of 20. Scores and doors. So we're gonna have to make a decision here, and
oh no.
So Strays and Saving Private Ryan is still at the top with 15 out of 20.
Nice.
Strays still at the top, so that's fine. Knockaround Guys gets added to the bottom of the list, 8 out of 10. But there's now a battle for third place. So you're going to have to tell me and make a case for why XXX is either worse or better than the Fast and the Furious.
Well,
who deserves the third spot more?
What would you make a case? What would you make a case for? I might not even need to make it. What would you make a case for?
Well, I would say the Fast and the Furious because it is a better movie.
There you go. I don't need to make my case. I don't need to make my case. I would say that.
There we go. Tell the people why you think it's better. Make a case anyway. Pad this podcast out for me because I feel like we're not going to hit 35 this week again.
Have you seen the rest of the franchise? Like it just, you know, I think the fact that this gave birth to what is one of my favorite franchises, and I think one of yours as well. I think the fact that, you know, sure, XXX starts a franchise because I believe they're working on a 4th one, but can you compare Can you compare the two franchises?
Not on the same. Yeah, it's not on the same scale in any way, and
exactly.
I can't. I'm just. Let me have a look and see what we sort of. I didn't even list what bits we gave Fast and Furious, but it's a 14. I would imagine Vin Diesel got a higher score than the actual overall movie, because the overall movie is.
I think we were flipped. I gave the film 4. You gave the film 3, and then I gave the Vin-ness a 3. You gave Vin-ness a 4. We were flipped on that.
That's it. Yeah. So, at least XXX more aligned in the fact that we like Vin Diesel more in this movie than we. Yeah. So, it's interesting. It's an interesting list. You can see the list on the YouTube version. Next week we're doing, what is it? Next week it's A Man Apart, which I've never heard of before. Have you ever heard of A Man Apart before?
No.
And then the second Riddick movie, The Chronicles of Riddick. So
yes, I'm excited for that.
And it's a game that spawned loads of video games. So I'm looking at maybe streaming a little bit of the Vin Diesel stuff on my Twitch. That might be interesting. I don't know if anyone would be interested in that, but I think we should do it. I'll set up a wee virtual camera so you can watch me play it on the Zoom, and you can just talk over. We'll talk over it with me, and that'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
But yeah, it's. We'll look into that a little bit more. I wouldn't say that's a concrete thing, but we'd also have to carve out a night to do that, because I feel like that's a pretty.
That's a big commitment. Yeah.
There's 2 Vin Diesel. There's 2 Riddick games.
And an animated short as well.
Butcher Bay and an animated. We could talk about the animated short. When we could tie that in. So if we can find where the animated short lives on a streaming service somewhere, we could probably try and tie that in.
Yeah.
With next week's Chronicles of Riddick. But yeah, we could probably talk about Butcher Bay and the other Riddick movie, the other Riddick game that came out a couple of years after that. So we can try and do a Twitch stream or something. That'd be pretty good. You'll be able to find out on my Twitter. Okay, so next week, like I said, is A Man Apart and The Chronicles of Riddick. I don't know where those films live, but we'll find them. You can find me on Twitter at CamsOG. I just realised in the introduction I never told each other who we are.
I'm sure they know at this point.
I think at this point it's fine, and it also says at the top anyway, if you watch the YouTube version, which most people do at this point, it says, I've been Cameron. You can find me on Twitter at CamsOG, ohighfilms.com, where my other podcast lives, which is a bit more generic, geeky stuff I do with Jordy Steele. It's great fun. It's a great listen. We just did a podcast on US comedy TV shows, which was enjoyable. You got any suggestions for US comedy TV shows, Awais? What's your fave?
How I Met Your Mother.
That got a mention.
I'm on my 6th rewatch of it.
That's crazy.
It's bad.
Although I think I've done the same with Community as well. I've watched Community a lot of times.
That's a good one.
I love Community. So yeah, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Awais and on thefilmbite.com, which I've recently decided to commit more time and effort to. We now have a small team, so go there for all your reviewing. Go there for all your reviewing content.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah. So we'll see you next week for more Vin Diesel goodness. Goodbye.
It has to be Van Diesel.
Van Diesel. We love him.
Points. We're going to go for E, and it's Van Diesel.
Okay, Van Diesel.